Hi there. Hello. Welcome. This is Alchemy Answers episode. Fuck, is it 12? 13? I was
I don't
not
know.
prepared to do the intro.
I don't know. We've done a lot of them, dude.
Regardless, I think it's episode 13. Nope, it is episode 12. All right, confirmed. Just
Okay, well,
checked.
it's an unlucky number, so we should skip it anyway.
Episode 12. Welcome to Alchemy Answers. We're doing it live on Jenkins' stream.
Twitch.tv/420 Jenkins, by the way.
420 Jenkins.
I don't know why I say that. Like I'm shilling. Like it's our YouTube channel. Why do I feel so bad about saying that?
It's actually your Twitch channel. It's not our YouTube. So it is just you who's benefiting from this, not me.
Well,
but, you know.
The thing is, I don't give a shit about you, so it's just fine.
It's a very abusive relationship that we're in.
Yeah, well, I'm well aware of that because I'm the one abusing you. So, okay, so I have some questions here. So, majornimal function, which is a stream viewer. This guy asks some pretty good questions, usually about my dad, but this one is about, okay, so if you first pick support, like a hard support, and then two other people switch from carry to support, what do you do to win against 5 carries? Okay, I'm gonna have to read that again because Jesus Christ.
That's such a strange scenario.
So you pick support, and then two other people switch from carry to support. What do you do to win against 5 carries? You probably just lose. It's hard. It's really hard to win a game if somebody's like doing some Rubik carry shit. Like it's very, very genuinely game losing. One way that you can win is that you can like supplement a draft filled with like a bunch of dumb support heroes with some Huskar or Brood, some like 1v5 cheese hero or Meepo, or just some really, really late game hero. And then you can just kind of itemize on the support heroes to go late and like supplement those heroes. So like if you have a TB or something, you just build a bunch of items that just make TB stronger. You just play to help your TB and you just like hope to win. If you have 5 supports versus a bunch of carries, you probably want to get items to end the game early, like what's it called? Meteor Hammer. Necro, not so much. It's kind of a shitty item now unless you're Lycan, but yeah, Meteor Hammer's pretty decent. I don't know. What do you think, Connie?
Spam Meteor Hammers, and I would look at your support. It's kind of a general question, so it's hard to know like what we're talking about here, what we're working with. But if you're a support hero that has good talents that enable you to scale the late game, then you just build important carry items. Like I don't know, if you pick Lich and you have 120 damage talent, why not just itemize for damage if you don't have a carry? And I mean, if you're, I don't know, a hero that it's so hard to answer the question without knowing what the lineups are, but I guess like I don't know, just build items that are good for late game. Even if you're a support, you can just build 5 hexes. If you have 5 supports against 5 carries, build 5 hexes. What do they do if they're pigs? Nothing.
Man, I had a mid dazzle the other day against a last pick Brood. He actually solo killed the Brood 2 times in the lane. And then we ended up just horribly losing the game because then we had a mid dazzle. And then all of that network didn't matter that he had acquired from like a free lane because Brood just fucked up so badly. Because Dazzle just doesn't have the spells to like be an effective carry.
Yeah.
So I would say that if you're in a game and you're playing some sort of like support hero or a hero that falls off, and you want to carry the game, either end early with the Meteor Hammer so you don't have to carry the game, or be very careful with your positioning and your play and make sure that you're itemizing correctly. Like this Dazzle, he very easily could have. Well, I shouldn't say easily. He could have won the game. Probably would be pretty hard because realistically, you're a core Dazzle. That's not very good. But if he had played a little differently, maybe he could snowball to some victory. But like if he was any other hero other than a Dazzle and he was an actual core hero in the mid lane and he gets 2 solo kills on Broodmother, game is over right then and there. It's over. There's no way to come back from that. If like a Timber or like a Monkey King or something like that gets 2 solo kills on a Brood, it's such a snowball lead. But Dazzle is like always killable. Crystal Maiden always killable. That's the issue with these support heroes. So make sure you're itemizing, and you know, you die 1 or 2 times, you're probably fucked. So probably just build Meteor.
Yeah, and so
Trash.
I think one other point to point out there, and this is applicable to like a lot of situations, is that I think a lot of the time when people feel like they're on a timer, they just start kind of incessantly fighting just forever. They're just always trying to fight and fight and fight and fight because they feel like they need to end the game right now, right this second. And while that's good if you're winning the fights, it gets to a point where like if you are a support or you're a mid dazzle, for example, and you die 1 time in these fights, like the game is over for you. So you have to be super careful with taking too many fights, despite the fact that you need to play fast and you need to take towers. If you're just kind of like running at them, you're basically just feeding 5 carries, and that's GG for sure.
That's a big GG right there. Okay, we'll move on to some other questions. If I skip any, you can just repeat it and I'll read it. There's like a lot of chat I have to scroll through. So Newsham asks, why do you think some heroes are so popular in pubs but see so much less competitive play? Something like Ricky, Monkey King, Treant. I think I think there's a few reasons for this. When I was doing King's Cup, we had Demon call in, we had what's this? Envy call in, we had March call in, and like one of the common factors that I'm hearing from a lot of these like really high level drafters is that they test out a lot of things just to see how it feels, and like the drafts aren't necessarily like we have this whole game figured out. Like it's this constant thing where people in competitive like they're feeling out how to play a specific hero. Like March literally won like 4 games in a row or something in King's Cup with Drow, and we were like, why are you picking Drow? Why are you playing it like this? We had a bunch of questions for him, and he's just like, I don't know. We were just feeling it out to see if anybody can counter this Drow hero. And then the next day they drafted something totally different. So basically, I think that a big reason that you don't see a lot of these things in competitive is that a lot of the heroes that are picked in like tier 2 competitive are dictated by like what a lot of these, you know, Eternal Envies and stuff are picking and trying out, and puppies and stuff. And these players, like, they take a while to test out strats, you know? So even if a hero is good in competitive, it's not necessary that like the teams have figured out an optimal strat to play with it, or maybe they just haven't tried it basically. And then also the obvious answer is that certain heroes are really good when there's a total lack of communication, which is
Yeah.
pubs, and then certain heroes are very bad without any communication. But that's such an obvious answer because it's just like pubs are complete, total, utter chaos where everybody's just running around doing complete nonsensical stuff. So if you pick some hero like, I don't know, Timbersaw, you'll probably own. But in competitive, it's like that's a hero that you probably don't want to pick unless it's like a last pick cancer cheese hero. And even then, so many teams lost with that hero at King's Cup, you know? Like there's that element. I think that's a big reason. But the more interesting reason, I think, is that people test things. And a lot of things just haven't been tested.
Yeah, I mean it kind of comes back to the fact like why the meta gets so static after a while. It's because you know there's the teams that are making money running certain strats, and everybody else wants to be good like them. And so if you are kind of at that cusp, if you're like close to being competitive, then why would you risk doing anything that could completely be terrible? Like when there's money online, when there's a chance to make money, when there's a chance to qualify for a LAN and get your name out there and get experience. Like if you have the opportunity to qualify running safe stuff, you're just going to do that because innovation, while it could win you stuff, you know, it's unproven. Whereas you see these teams like, you know, the Secrets and the EGs and the LGDs running these strategies that they've been running for like a year, and they've been winning very consistently for like a year. So clearly they know something about the game because they're making millions of dollars in your.
Okay. That's harsh. The way you put that at the end there, man.
I
What
mean,
the
it
hell?
is, but like it's reality. It's why you go to like a doctor for your medical needs because they've spent countless hours and countless amounts of money testing the correct things out. You don't just like take a saw and start chopping at your body when you have like cancer. You go and get like a consultation and stuff.
People have done that. Doesn't
Yeah,
work out
it
too
does
well.
not work out very well.
I think it's I like to kind of piggyback off what you said. I think what you said is true. I think a lot of teams are perfectly willing to like test out stuff, like tier 2 teams. There's I think tier 2 teams aren't giant pussies. I think they're definitely willing to like there's a lot less to lose. They're the underdogs. But with that being said, like something like a Necrophos is completely figured out. PL completely figured out. Like in order for heroes to become the new meta, it's not just like some team plays it one game, it feels good. It's like it has to be played by so many teams so many times and be completely figured out, you know? And that just doesn't happen when you have like I think you will have tier 2 teams picking like a Ricky or something, but you'll see it in one game and then they're not playing at some LAN tournament playing like 50 games, you know? So you'll only see that Ricky so rarely. So there's very little proving grounds. Like there's very little opportunity for Ricky to really be figured out because it's just like the tier 2 teams that have picked it and these other teams just haven't moved on to it yet. Anyway, we've been kind of hamming on this question for a while, so let's go ahead and look to see if there's
Move
LMAO,
along.
his voice changed for the intro. You did change your voice for the intro. Hey man, that's recording videos though. Okay, what are my favorite offlaners in this patch? My favorite offlaners, I think Weaver's good. I think Necro's good, given the game. I'm actually gonna record a video on this soon. Mirana has become good again too, just because a lot of the other heroes have fallen off, and she hasn't gotten nerfed all that badly. Let's see, Axe, double stout shield Axe is incredibly good. Depends on what you're up against though. Ogre's very good, mainly because he can be played in like almost any role. I know that a lot of SEA teams are doing some like Ogre plus a Shrak, where sometimes Ogre will be core, sometimes the Shrak will be core, depending on the game. The offlane is pretty versatile right now, to be totally honest. I'm even seeing like in SEA teams are running Nyx Assassin offlane if they're like against a Necro Pugna and they're just maxing mana burn, leaving the stun at level 1, level 2, maxing the Carapace 2. There's Magnus. Magnus is pretty good with like a PA strat or some Monkey King, something like that. Pretty versatile. I would say one of the heroes that has fallen off pretty dramatically that was considered an offlaner for a long time is like Ursa. And then Tiny is also being played more as a support now than an offlaner, other than in NA. But in NA, people are losing with it. So like SEA in China, they're just picking Tiny, running it as a support because it does what it does as a support. Same thing that it would do in the offlane. So I don't know. I think that's a pretty good list.
Yeah, that's something that we see a lot happen over the course of like a few month period. Is people will take a hero that works well and then they'll realize like, wait, we could put this somewhere else and it would do the same thing. Right? Like Tiny mid does the same thing as Tiny offlane. It does the same thing as Tiny support, essentially. Like once you get to like the mid game and the fighting and stuff like that.
My opinion on Tiny mid is that like if you build Tiny as an offlaner, he'll get to like the Echo Saber and the Shadow Blade, and you'll basically be killing the same heroes as if like if you didn't have those items, you'd still want to be jumping and killing the same heroes. But like
Right.
if you're mid Tiny and you get those items so early because you're mid, you can actually kill like cores. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But,
That's
like,
definitely a little bit different, but like the hero
like,
playstyle is very similar regardless. I would
right,
say.
right. But that's like all I'm saying is like that's why we see Tiny mid and Tiny support, but not Tiny offlane because it's that weird middle ground where you're kind of too under farmed to kill cores, and then it's just like, why am I not just a support with the blink killing, like a Winter Wyvern or a Dazzle or a Willow? Like, you'll kill those heroes regardless. But if you're mid, you can actually blow up like a PL. You can blow up like a Centaur, depending.
Yeah. Did you mention Pugna at all? What do you think of Pugna?
Oh, Pugna's pretty good.
In the offlane.
Yeah, Pugna's more of a mid laner. It's kind of a flex pick. Like it's good. It's definitely good at both.
Yeah.
If you get really hard countered on Pugna, you can just throw it to the offlane. Yeah, Pugna's definitely good. It's really good against Necro. Good against like specific heroes that have high mana costs and stuff.
Yeah, I played this one game where forget whether I was the support or the safe laner, but it was against a Pugna IO lane, and it was like pretty dirty to deal with. Like infinite nether blasts and IO being at fast movement speed, it was really hard to deal with.
Fast heroes with IO is so cancer.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've played Tyler HK93 says this is the first time I've actually pronounced the name correctly. I've played a lot of Rubik, and honestly, if I can make people chase me with utility items like Force Staff, Blink, and Ghost, as well as be able to split push lanes. Hey, screw you, Tyler. That wasn't a question. You baited me. Okay. Am I missing some questions?
Probably.
Okay. I have no money. I'm playing Rubik most often as a safe lane support. I'm having a hard time not falling off after the laning phase. How do I find the right timings to gank, or otherwise ensure my/our future strength? The thing is, if you're playing a 5-role support, right now, a lot of the time you will just fall off regardless of what you do, because otherwise, if you are having a really good game, usually you'll take the 4 position and your 4 will be getting fucked. Unless you're completely snowballing, in which case the game is very easy and nothing really needs to be said about that. But it's
Because of the 2-1-2 meta, basically, it's like one lane tends
somebody's
to
gonna
do very
well.
and the other
Yeah.
lane tends to do poorly.
Right. So basically, what I would recommend is Rubik 4, and then also I'd recommend you buy a shitload of sentries and try to just do your best to do whatever you can to be useful in the game. Because really, as a 5-role, your job is to get wards down. It's to get as much as you can out of the lanes and do shit in the early game. But like if you find that you're falling off as a 5, maybe you should and you don't like that, maybe you should be playing 4 or offlane, because right now if you look at like most 5s after the game and you look at what they purchased, they have like 2,000 net worth in a 50-minute game and then 50 sentries purchased.
Yeah,
Like
dude, sentries.
5 rolls do not they always fall off. They almost always fall off. I would say that if you want to still find that you're having, if you want to try to have like a huge impact still, which of course you can always try to do, warding is a good way to have an impact. Watching your positioning very carefully in fights is a good way to have an impact, especially on Rubik. If you're like standing in trees somewhere away from the fight, you can get a good steal, use a spell, probably die, but then at the very least you'll use the spell. Positioning is so crucial in Rubik, and especially as 5 too, because you walk in, you'll die, and it's not even like a worthwhile death because you're so easy to kill and so important that it's not like, oh, they use spells for me. They can just all right-click you once and you'll die. So like standing in trees is really important. Trying to stay in fog is really important. Playing on the back line away from your team is really important. Not grouping up with your team, because if somebody can get like a double stun on you +1, it's really, really good. Everybody aims for supports. At least good players will try to aim for supports because they're so easy to kill and so important. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good list of stuff. But I would say mainly if you're a 5, like I wouldn't feel too bad about falling off, because that's kind of what
what's
they
supposed
do.
to happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, one thing that you can do if you're falling off because you're dying a lot is just try and stay like pretty close proximity to your playmaking heroes, or the ones that are most likely to kind of like be involved in a fight or be ganked, so that you can counter initiate and try and like, I mean, the best thing as a 5 is you're in the right place at the right time to stop your carry or your mid offlaner from dying. And as a result, you happen to survive the fight because everything's focused on that hero. You save them, you end up getting like 3 levels and like 1,000 gold out of a fight just because you happen to be there and survive the whole thing. And that is, that one fight gives you a full item, or allows you to actually get
10
important
sentries.
item. Yeah,
10 sentries.
10 sentries, or it could potentially finish your blink dagger, which then could snowball you into kind of like a second 4 on your team.
Position, yeah. 3.5s or 4.5s or whatever. Okay, so Bongo Drum says, Jenkins, what are your thoughts on Pudge, Midas, and Travels? Bongo Drums, I think that's super legit, and you'll win a lot by doing that in game. So I would go ahead and do that. I think that's the next big thing. Like that's the next blink on Enigma. Like it's that good. Anyway, moving on. I'm just kidding. I don't think Midas is very good. I don't think. Damn, Moo's getting destroyed in this game.
Yeah,
I don't think Midas is very good. I think Travels isn't a great item. Like it's so expensive and essentially just functions exactly like teleport scrolls, a little bit better. It just makes the game a lot easier and costs a lot of gold that could be otherwise used for stats and stuff to keep you alive and to kill people. Oh, there's flames. There's lots of flames going on in this game. Okay, so Jay Newsham says, from an offlaner's perspective, would you rather play kill lanes like was more popular a few months ago, or would you rather be somewhat self-sufficient laner, freeze up the 4 to roam around at the 4-minute nighttime. I actually really like Enigma in this patch because it like lets you go back to that previous meta of the 4 being able to just go do what they want. Like you see a lot of teams picking Enigma and then they'll pick like Spirit Breaker, Tusk, Earth Spirit because Enigma doesn't really care for people to be in his lane anyway. Earthshaker too. So then you can have these really really good heroes for the game that also happen to be roamers. Like I kind of prefer this meta just because there are picks available to you that can allow you to do the roaming thing, and I also kind of like the fact that if you want to roam in this patch, you have to be some like specialty guy running around on Tusk killing everybody. Like it's really cool to me that it's like everybody knows roaming sucks ass, but teams will still pick an Earth Spirit or a Tuskar, and that's, you know, sometimes supplemented. But then you know that that player has to be so good at that hero to make it worth it. Like I find that really cool and interesting, at least from like a spectator perspective. And as an offlaner, that also means that like I get, you know, different lane scenarios that I find myself in. We'll do one more. We'll do one more question. Okay. So Dota 2 Samurai. Sorry, bongo drums. I read this one first. Dota 2 Samurai says, how should I play safe lane carry these days? I always end up jungling since it's almost impossible to not lose the lane. That's how you do it.
Yep.
You jungle.
Straight up. I was just going to say.
You pick TB or PL, and then or Morphling. You lose the lane. Sometimes you win if you get very lucky and your lane is the winning lane. But if you lose the lane, you have to go jungle and eventually come back by pressuring lanes, forcing enemy team to respond to objectives, and then picking the right fights. That's basically how you play the safe lane.
That's the big one. Picking the right fights, not showing up before you have the ability to actually take a fight and impact it. If you're showing up to a fight before your BKB, for example, on a hero that needs BKB to fight, you're throwing the game. Essentially is what it comes down to. I definitely think that, I think that there's a few other heroes that you can probably pick besides the ones that Jenkins mentioned. And there's definitely some stuff that, like, some heroes that are more flexible, like a Weaver, like a Mirana, that can be run in the safe lane that aren't just going to immediately lose the lane because they're more of like an offlaner because they have the escape, because they can't be pressured nearly as heavily. But definitely the TBPLs coming back in the late game is the most reliable way to play safe lane carry right now.
Yeah.
And with those heroes being popular, I've been experimenting with Sven. I think Sven's pretty good. But I know that you hate Sven. You think he's garbage.
I don't hate Sven. I think Sven is okay. His cleave is pretty good.
Cleave is very good because
the fact the cleave, it's what is it, 40% at level 1?
Yeah, you get a Battle Fury for 1 point. You don't have to max it out.
It's actually ridiculous. Yeah. I really like him as an offlaner because of that.
I told you that Sven offlane was the next thing.
I didn't disagree
2 months
with
ago,
you,
and you're like, no way. Maybe like 3 months from now it'll be okay.
Yeah, which I was right because they nerfed Wraith King.